I thought it would be best to respond with a video. So I was just going to provide a couple of examples on a similar vein. So, for example, if I were to say, okay, let's take a look at the number 44, and I want to know when is it equal to this code number. I'm going to put it like it's a code number, meaning it's in another base. Say code number 230, like what base would that be true in? So how could you get started on this? Well, what I would recommend if you're trying to figure out which base is to kind of use this dots and box approach that we've seen for the first two modules. And so when you see the number 230, what you're thinking is, okay, there's two dots here, three dots here, and then 0 dots in the last place. All right, that's your code 230. All right. Again, we're trying to figure out what base is exploding to 1 dot to the left, right? Well, one way to think about that is to think about the place value. And so the place value is something I start to highlight in module 2. So the place value always on any base, the very right-hand box is the ones place. So notice here that in the ones place, we have nothing, all right? And somehow that's making 44. So that already makes you wonder, like, okay, so some number, whatever the base is, must divide evenly into 44 because there's nothing left there. But anyway, you can use a guess and check approach here. Like maybe you're totally lost and you're thinking like, I don't know what base this is. You know, maybe it's base, let's just say maybe it's base 5. Well, if it were base 5, then this would automatically mean this place value would be 5, right? And then 5 times 5 would be 25. So here in this place value. Well, now you can kind of check and see, well, does this work? And you'll find out that, in fact, this does not work, right? Because 2 25s, right, is already worth 50. And then 3 5s is worth 15. And then, of course, we have nothing in this last box. But 50 and 15 makes 65. That's far too big. We only needed a value of 44, right? So we can think, oh, wow, that base must be too big. So we can kind of go backtrack. By the way, there is algebraic ways of doing this, but I'm trying to avoid any algebra and just using sort of a guess and check approach. So then you might think, okay, that base is too big. Maybe I'll try something smaller, like I'm going to purposely get it wrong again. Let's try base 3. Well, then this would be the 3's place, and then 3 times 3 would be the 9's place. Well, now if you check, you have 2 times 9 is 18, 3 times 3 is 9, and then, of course, you have a 0. If you add that up, you get 27. Now it's too small. Okay, so base 5 was too big. Base 3 is too small. Hopefully it's right between those two, right? It must be, if I'm going to guess and check, base 4. And so let's just verify that. Let's just say maybe this is base 4. This would be the 4's place. And this would then be 4 times 4, the 16's place. And now it works because 2 times 16 is 32. And 3 times 4 is 12 plus the 0. That gives me 44. Then that means my answer up here, right? My answer up here must be base 4. So I've kind of answered that. Now I'm going to do a second one for you just so you can see kind of a different approach. Let's take a look at one more example. And you can always replay what I just did there. Let's see if I asked, okay, 38 is equal to 5, 3 in what base? Now, when there's a 3 in the ones place, it actually makes it a little more interesting. Okay, so again, we're still asking the same question. What value goes to 1 to the left? What base is it? Well, if we have 5, 3, that's our code number, right? We're thinking about 5 dots in whatever place value that is and 3 dots here. Well, since in our place value, right, the first box to the right is always the ones place, that's automatically going to be worth 3, right? 3 plus whatever we get from here. And that depends, of course, on the base. Well, if it's 3 plus something and we want a grand total of 38, right? We want it to be equal to 38, then logically, we can think what number plus 3 is 38? It's got to be 35. So how could I get these 5 dots to be worth 35? I can just try multiples. Like, in other words, 5 times what gives me 35? And the only answer is 7. 7 times 5 is 35. And that just means that this would be base 7, right? I can kind of write that in. Now, you have a few on that last problem, which take you from one base, like let's say I said, okay, 2, 2 in base 4, right, is equal to, I need to make one up really quickly, is equal to some other number in another base other than base 10. In other words, if I start you off in base 4 and I take you to another base, what could happen? And let's take a look at this one as well. So let's say, for example, that it's equal to 1, 3 in some other unknown base. Now, the problem with a question like this is since we don't start in base 10, right? We didn't start with 44 or 38. I don't even really know what this number means. I'm like, I don't even know what 2 means unless I did the counting in base 4 to figure out what it is, or I do a conversion. So the first thing you might do on this is more of a two-step problem, is sort of figure out what is this number anyway right here? What is 2 base 4? And you can do that by just drawing a base 4 box. You don't have to draw the box, but this is a nice way to think about it. Think about 2 dots here and 2 dots here, right? This is the ones place. This is the fours place. So we have 2 4s. That's 8. 2 1s. That's 2. So really, this is worth a value of 10. Oh, okay. So this is really equal to 10. That's a number I can think about, right? And so now I'm asking myself 10 rather than thinking about this middle one anymore. Not that I'm going to cross it out, but I'm no longer going to think about this. I'm going to think about the 10. When is 10 equal to 1 3? Okay, so now we're going to focus on this place over here. 1 3 looks like this. 1 3, right? But I want that to be a value of 10. Well, I know that this is the ones place, right? And that's 3. 3 plus what equals 10? Well, that's fairly easy to solve. 7, right? And since there's only 1 dot here, that must be base 7. 1 7 is 7. And so then I've solved this as well. This is base 7. And I hope these examples provide a way for you to think about the actual homework assignment itself. And let me know if not.